So, I want to tell you all a story about a man named Jed. Poor mountaineer, barely kept his family fed. And one day he was shooting at some food, and up through the ground come a bubbling crude oil, that is, black gold, Texas tea. How many of us know that? Some of you are just too young. Today, we are talking about our stories. And I want to share with you first that a week ago, there were about 30 of us who got to experience Chaz and Bukeka in the Weekend I Am Awake retreat. And it was an amazing experience. And a huge part of that experience for us was to wake up to the stories that we have been telling. And many times very unconscious stories and many times very conscious stories. And then we were given some tools to start moving from where we are and to start shifting to the place where we could tell a totally new story. And there was incredible power in that, and there were so many aha moments for those of us who were there. I want to encourage you that when things like this come up, to consider coming and being a part of that. It's a very safe environment. We all agree at the onset that what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas, that things are held confidentially there, and it created this wonderful sacred space. So I just invite you to come and join us in some of that. So I went to Dr. Roger Teal. He's one of my very favorite authors, and also he doesn't know it, but he's my mentor. And this is his book that he wrote, This Life is Joy. And Roger talks about stories in his book. And he categorizes stories into like 5 different areas. It's the old stories, the cold stories, the told stories, the gold stories, and the bold stories. And so we are initially going to focus on the first 3 of these. And this is for us to begin waking up to the stories. And really, most of the old, the cold, and the told stories are very unconscious stories that are still going on in our consciousness, that are still the driving, directing power of our life experience. So the old stories, these stories are usually formed in response to things that happen early on in our lives. And these are usually painful experiences that have happened early on in our lives. And so they're very, very, very deeply rooted from our past experience. And we have told them for so long, mostly without even realizing that we have done that they have become our truth. And what Roger tells us is that most of the time, we don't wake up to the realization that there is a greater reality and a greater truth that we have the opportunity to root ourselves in. And that, the stories that we've been telling aren't the truth with a capital T. So here's some of those stories that we might be telling. The reason I can never get ahead is. Something I'll never get over is. The part of me that always gets in the way is. If I only had such and such, if I only hadn't done such and such. I never get any breaks. I don't feel worthy to receive my good because I love to give, but I never receive in return. And then I also came up with, I'll never get past what he or she or they did to me. And I love how he says this. These kinds of stories are composed interpretations of our life. It's, the story happens, the things happen, and we make up all kinds of meaning about those things that have happened. And so we've composed all kinds of stories about events and experiences in our lives. And he says that these will continue to run and to direct our lives until we deliberately choose to create and empower a new story. And I love the way he says that we create and empower a new story, and a story that heals us, that opens us, that inspires us, that helps us to expand and to become more than what we've thought ourselves to be and what we thought our lives to be. So these are the old stories. Then there's the cold stories. Now, the cold stories are usually the stories that we have told about ourselves. And the cold stories you'll find that the cold stories have no heart and no compassion in them. And generally, these are the stories that we have told about ourselves that belittle ourselves. Anybody ever tell any belittling stories about ourselves? For me, what I recognized is that most of the belittling stories have to do with not enough and not good enough. I'm not enough and I'm not good enough. And when we tell our old story with our cold story, it really helps us to be stuck. Anybody want to be stuck? I don't want to be stuck. Okay, so it could look something like this. Old story, something I will never get over is cold story. So essentially, I will always be stuck. There's no heart, no compassion in that story. Old story, if only I hadn't done such and such. Cold story, but since I did, my life is forever doomed. No heart or compassion in that. So it's just recognizing that these are the stories that will keep us stuck. And then we go to the told stories. Now, the told stories are the stories that were told to us about us. And these stories, we end up having a tendency to buy into these, especially when we're younger, but also as we mature, if we haven't spiritually yet matured, if we haven't gotten to that point where we recognize these things are not true, but that we continue to let people define us. And again, here's the thing about when people are telling us what they think about us, what they think about our choices or our lifestyles, whatever it is, we immediately go into meaning making, and we make it about a whole lot more than they even ever said. And we create all kinds of things around what that means, and so then it becomes a lot bigger. This told story becomes a lot bigger about who I am and what I am and how valuable I am in my life. And unless you have somebody that is telling you how magnificent you are, you need to quit listening to those old stories. Because those old stories are going to do nothing, and those told stories are going to do nothing but keep you from moving into the magnificent being that you have come here to be. And so I love this. Author and growth facilitator Donna Markova says this: when the inner walls to your soul are graffitied with advertisements, commercials, and the opinions of everyone who has ever known and labeled you, turning inwards requires nothing less than a major cleanup. And I love that visual, that in our inner soul, we can have all kinds of graffiti in there that other people have told us about the truth of us, about the truth of life, about who we are, again, about our choices, whatever it is. And the thing that will clean that up is to turn within and to deepen our roots into what is the truth about us, and to receive then the nurturing and the nourishment from these roots that are planted in source, that are planted in God, that are planted in truth with a capital T. That is when our stories are going to start changing. So here's some of the told stories. You don't belong. You're the clumsiest kid in school. You're so stupid. I was told that my dreams were pipe dreams and impossible. You can't do that. You're a girl. You sissy. So I want you to see how the old story with the cold story with the told story can show up in our consciousness. I never get any breaks. Life is not for me, so I'm just always going to expect the worst. I was not accepted, so I'm not good enough. I'm oddly different, fat, ugly, uncoordinated, stupid, etc. I don't have what it takes. I'm powerless. My dreams aren't possible anyway. There is never enough money. I will never have enough. Money doesn't grow on trees. Only the rich get richer. And I think most of us can resonate with at least one or more of these stories. And so the realization here is that that's what they are, my friends. They're just stories. And that you and I have been gifted with something that allows us to change our stories And as we change our stories, then we begin to change our experience of life. And I love, about the whole labeling thing. I recognize that you can peel off a label. And even some of those that are really stuck on, you can get some lemon oil out, do a little scraping. Labels are just that. And what matters is what's really inside, is what we know about ourselves. Roger says, you are so much more than a material time-space organism. You are the I am. You are a being of light, born from living within and giving expression to universal love intelligence. You are a magnificent being, a magnificent expression of God right now as you sit where you are. You are a magnificent you're a magnificent being of the divine expressing. Do you know that? Hello? Let's say it, okay? We're going to say, I am a magnificent being of the divine expressing. Together, I am a magnificent being of the divine expressing. Okay, I got to tell you, you guys did pretty good on that. It was a lot quieter at the first service. But I still don't believe that you really believe that. And the thing is, my friends, if we don't believe that, we're not going to change our old stories because we're still going to think that all this stuff is true. Until we can root ourselves and really anchor into that knowing, I'm a magnificent being of the divine expressing. That's what I am. So we're going to say it again. Now, here's the thing. It's not a matter of how loud we say it. It's a matter of the depth with which we anchor ourselves into it. And that may mean loud, and it may not. But I really want to encourage you as we say it this time to feel yourself anchoring in and anchoring in and rooting down into the source, into that deeper place, that's where we want to receive from. So I am a magnificent being of the divine expressing, okay? I am a magnificent being of the divine expressing, and you are, and you are, and you are. And this is the big wake-up call for us to truly remember this and to live from it. Roger says, let me go back here. As you walk in this awareness, here, and this is amazing, the world no longer has the power to intimidate and manipulate you. Wow, that's pretty big. My workplace, my neighborhood, my community no longer has the power to intimidate and manipulate me. Obstacles and dilemmas become opportunities to listen deeply and to make ourselves more available to this vast inner guidance. And, one of the things that really came to my mind on this is that, I've heard various people say, I'm really struggling at my job, I need to get a new job, or I can't stand the place where I live, I need to get a new place where I live. And I'm not saying there's not anything valid in that. Here's what I am saying. I love this. Wherever you go, there you are. Hello? You can pop into a different place, but if this has not changed in some way, you're going to have the same experience. Because guess what? You brought all of that with you. And so the only way really we're going to have a different experience is we've got to start seeing ourselves in life differently. We've got to start seeing possibilities and potentiality differently. We've got to quit giving power to those old stories that told us anything less than you are a divine being. You are a magnificent expression of God. Anything less than that, don't listen to it. La, 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 la. It's a really great thing to do. La, 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 I'm not listening. La, 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 la. Don't listen to that. Roger says, you realize even more deeply that you are at home in a friendly universe and that all is well. And that the imaginary hole of not enoughness not only fills up, but it dissolves. And with this comes the unshakable conviction that you are complete and whole in the mind of God now and always. I think it's something up here. Sorry. I kept a little piece of gum in there. Yes, thank you. The air comes like right from there, and so it's interesting right at this spot. Excuse me for just a moment. I'll be right back with you. Okay. And he says, and I think this just really hit me, and you are no longer being dragged along by life. Wow. And now we're able to say yes to life's invitation and to co-partner with Spirit in the creation of this life experience. This is my partner. God is my partner. Divine intelligence is my partner. This is my partner. And all else can fade away. It will dissolve when I stay more firmly rooted in this knowing and in this awareness. And he says, this is how we become aware. Whenever you hear yourself talking about your life, your past, your current experiences or challenges, your future prospects, be alert to the nature of these stories embedded in this sharing. If something tenses you, it is probably a higher wisdom cringing at the lesser story. And especially notice this when you're dealing with something that has been a difficulty that has shown up over and over and over again. You know, and how beautiful is that we always have, and I love how Abraham calls it our inner guidance system. And that inner guidance system tells us in the moment when I'm buying into an old story that doesn't support that I am a magnificent being expressing God, then I can feel it right here. Sometimes you can feel it in anger, sometimes in defensiveness. Those are the wake-up calls to go, oh, wait a second, what am I rooted in here? I want to share this with you. Dr. Rogers shared that he had gone on a hike one day. He was laying out, he lives in Colorado, so he's laying out in this magnificent place, these huge trees, and he said, the tallest trees, which are I may not have it. The tallest trees, anyway, he started to look at those and he thought, wow, they must have an incredibly amazing root system. So when he got home, he started looking it up and he found out that these tall, and they're the oldest trees, have a root system as deep as they are tall. And he looked at that metaphorically as, in order for us to be our most majestic being, to be our most authentic self, and to live in that for as long as we live, we must have our root system deep into God, deep into Source, deep into the knowingness of who and what we really are. When we do that, these other root systems that have been those old, cold, told stories, we're not feeding them, and so they'll just disappear. It's not even that we have to even go back into those and pull them up by simply, and I say simply, isn't that nice? By simply keeping ourselves rooted here. This stuff it truly does dissolve because we continue knowing the truth for ourselves. And he says that when those things come up and we can feel it, that's when we go to our gold story. Gold story can be a couple things. It could be that you're able to look at some of these things that have happened in your life that you've connected to, that are continuing to be the driving force in your life, and say, okay, what are some golden nuggets I can take out of this? If you can't do that, the gold story is you're going to rewrite your story. You're going to rewrite your story the way that you would like to experience your story. And then from the gold story, you step into the bold story. And the bold story is where you're standing up now and you're saying, I know who I am. I am a magnificent being of the divine, expressing, that's who I am. I don't care what comes my way. I don't care what my past has been. I don't care what you say about me. I don't care what you say about, we don't have to be like that, I guess, huh? But right now, it's just how I feel. And so I don't care what you say about my possibility and potentiality. I don't care what you say about whether you think my dreams are possible or not. Because you know what? I am a magnificent being of the divine expressing. That's who I am. Period. Bam. Anchor down. Bam. That's it. Yeah. Roots go deeper. Roots become more solid. I'm receiving from my source. And guess what? I'm getting stronger. And I'm growing, and I'm reaching higher, and I'm being the most amazing expression of the divine that I can be. Now, I want to tell you, I love when I get to share personal stories, and Pat Nash, who is here today. Yes, yay. A few months ago, Pat had pneumonia. And they found a spot on his lung. And with time, they discovered that that spot was cancer. And Pat, initially he took the hit. But I'm going to tell you, this guy, he was rooted. And he, bam, he just started to turn it around. And just to say, you know what? Whatever it is, I'm going to be fine. Whatever it is, I'm going to be fine. It wasn't, hey, if this isn't cancerous or whatever. It was like, whatever it is, I'm going to be fine. So he finds out he has a cancer. So through the process, they decide that they're going to do kind of a rare procedure on him. There's only been, up to this point, 240 of these done. And this is where they're going to take the top lobe of his right lung off. So I think it was like 10 days ago, Pat, on a Wednesday morning, and I got to be there with he and Kim, and he was like this happy, joyful, honestly, this guy was not nervous, happy, and he just was in such a great space. And of course, he has the support of Kim, who is such an incredibly positive role model as well. And so he has this surgery, and everything went better than expected, where they didn't have to do full cuts, they didn't have to break his ribs, they didn't have to, they were able to do like 4 incisions. Okay, everything goes good. So he went to the doctor on Friday, and he texted me, and here's what he said. That the doctor said to him, Pat, the doctor said to him, I want to say that again, the doctor said to him, I'm so proud of you. And all the notes from the surgeon and the nurses that came in said that he came through this better than anyone they have ever done this procedure on before. That he was patient number 241. All reports were far better than any of the 3 doctors expected, and the doctor said that his positive attitude and true belief that he would be okay made all the difference in the world. Pat's right here in the white royal shirt. He was out grocery shopping later that day, and it's amazing. And he just received from the source, and he let that be his story, and he stayed firmly rooted in that, no matter what. And it does matter, and it does make a difference. And I want to just say to you today that no matter what has ever taken place in your life, no matter what people have ever told you about you or people made you feel about you, what stories you've added on to that you have the opportunity in this moment to change your story. That you have the opportunity in this moment to remember who you are. Who are you? I am a magnificent being of the divine expressing. That's who I am. And as we again, root ourselves more deeply into that. And every day, and I don't mean once a day, my friends, you need to be reminding yourself of this over and over again throughout the day. And when things come up in your life that start to get you right here, get you in defensive mode, get you in anger mode, check in, la 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 la, whatever you want to do. I am a magnificent being of the divine. That's who I am. Because that is who you are. And everything, and I promise you this, everything that you need to shift your story into the story that you truly desire to experience in your life, it's already here for you. We just have to shift our focus to see that it's right. It's always been right where we are. So let's all say it one more time. I am a woohoo! And you are. Namaste, namaste, namaste.